ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Cinegeeks. I'm Gavin, and with me as always my buddy Neville here, and we are here to watch Terminator Dark Fate. So, what do you think about the trailers, buddy?
Well, before I talk about the trailer, I just want to say that I did like the original Terminator and Terminator 2. Some of the films after that were a bit redundant, but looking at this trailer, I've got to say I have about as much enthusiasm for this movie as Linda Hamilton did when she delivered the catchphrase of the franchise.
I'll be back.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. To be honest, to me, it just seems like it's a cash grab, doing the same things that the other Terminator movies have done, which is kind of a bit of a staple for the franchise at this point, if I do say so myself.
Well, it's always the same old thing. Terminator gets sent back to kill John Connor, or Sarah Connor, or, in this case, Dora the Explorer.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then somebody comes back to save her. Or him. Or her again. Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just the same old, same old. Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, not at all. So, yeah, honestly, it's looking like nothing new.
Yeah, except this time they put the boys in timeout and let the girls play.
Well, even that was already done by this franchise.
Well, let's go see if they do anything new. We'll be back.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
Okay, folks, there's nothing to see here.
As expected, same old stuff. Same old rehashing of the other films.
The opening scene was pretty good, and the effects were really cool, but I didn't really like the scene as a whole as far as the story goes, but we'll get back to that later.
Yeah, the effects in the intro are actually really good, and honestly, a lot of the effects throughout the movie are pretty good, but there were some that were questionable at best.
It's like they weren't finished with the film in time for the release date, and then right at the last minute they rushed a lot of the effects. I mean, some of them look really, really bad.
Yeah, and honestly, there were a lot of slow-mo scenes as well, which just made the problem even worse. I mean, if you have bad effects, don't slow your movie down.
Yeah, because then we can see all the flaws. But then again, maybe it looked worse in normal speed.
If you haven't seen the movie and you plan to, you might want to stop the video here because we are going into spoiler territory, though if I'm being honest, if you've seen the other Terminator movies, you know how this one works.
Yeah, hard to spoil it when they're doing the same damn movie over and over and over again.
So, in the first 2 minutes of the movie, John Connor's killed, the most important character in the entire franchise. You know, here's the thing. When you're trying to make a movie that's all about fan service, maybe killing one of the most iconic characters and one that people have loved for over 40 years isn't such a good idea.
Yeah, so at the end of T2, they stop Skynet, and it never happens. Later in this film, they actually confirm that. So where did the T-800 come from that comes and kills John?
Yeah, also, so they managed to stop Skynet, right? But it still happens. It's just named Legion. That just completely makes everything in the first two movies entirely pointless.
So was it the actions of T2 that prevented Skynet, or the death of John at the beginning of this movie that changed things? Because otherwise, where did the T-800 come from? We're obviously dealing with some sort of back-to-the-future time travel here. But it still seems odd that the same future happens, just with different names.
Yeah, if they were going to erase the past, they might as well have done something new, but this is just a rehash with different characters.
More importantly, I think, different genitalia. It's not like they're the first to do this, and it seems unnecessary since they had one of the most badass women of sci-fi of all time.
So, back to what little story it had. A Terminator appears naked in the middle of the city.
Seen it.
And then, the Savior comes back naked and has an awkward encounter.
Seen it.
The Terminator then goes to the main character's parents' house in order to find out where she's at.
Seen it.
And then, the Terminator goes to where she's at, and right as he's about to kill her, right in the nick of time, the Savior comes and shoots him with a shotgun.
Seen it. Seen it all. This movie really has nothing new to tell. It's all just a rehash.
So, the character of Grace was somewhat annoying. One of the things that I hated most about her was the fact that she just distrusted Sarah Connor, despite the fact that she had just saved them. There really is no reason for this. It just seems like forced tension.
She saved them twice, or maybe even 3 times, actually. I forgot. This story was very forgettable.
Not to mention the fact that not only do they not trust her, but they hijacked her car. The person that just saved you from the things that were about to kill you and you're going to get on their bad side, this makes no sense.
Also, Grace doesn't seem like a very good savior. She can only fight in short bursts against a machine with unlimited endurance. Why didn't they send back another reprogrammed machine? It always worked before, and this movie has no problem rehashing previous stories. Why didn't they rehash the things that worked?
As far as the new Terminator is concerned, I have things that I like and dislike about him. The things that I like are his ability to manipulate tech. I mean, it's pretty interesting that he gets to take over things like cameras and UAVs and things like that. I also like the fact that he's a bit more personable. He will actually go over to other people and request assistance from them and things like that, which makes a lot more sense if it's going to help you achieve your mission. I don't like the fact that he's able to materialize guns. Not only is it overpowered, but it's also obviously overpowered because the people that wrote the movie kind of combated this. He never tries to shoot the character beyond the very first encounter. It's stupid.
I personally like the T-1000 better, and the limitations made for a more interesting character.
It can't form complex machines. Guns and explosives have chemicals, moving parts. It doesn't work that way. But it can form solid metal shapes.
Like what?
Knives and stabbing weapons.
The inclusion of Sarah Connor and the T-800 seemed a bit forced. Honestly, he could have gone after other potential leaders after killing John Connor, and instead he just becomes a stepdad with the drapery business. He sympathizes with the enemy.
Yeah, why couldn't he be a mechanic? They had to emasculate this total badass killing machine by making him an interior designer for a few cheap laughs.
Yeah, in the middle of battle prep, he's talking to Danny about the curtains he recommended for a child's room, and that they should have butterflies and polka dots.
Hilarious, right? The Terminator was cool in his ability to split in half, and it seemed like the two halves were weaker apart, which I thought was a really interesting concept. And they used this in ways that made sense. But the AI itself was stupid.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. The big problem with I already stated earlier that he could have easily formed a gun and killed Danny at so many points in the movie. But there was a big part near the climax of the movie at the very end where the car is underwater. He could have split in half and guarded both sides. Or he could have waited for them to come out of the car where they'd be more vulnerable. Or he could have done literally nothing. Instead, he decides to open the door and give them a path for escape.
So, yada yada yada, they fight a bit, they chase each other around, and then eventually they end up in a room where they have to face the Terminator. And then they kill him in a way we've seen before. They take Grace's power source, and Arnie shoves it in his face and they both explode.
Yeah, if this power source was so effective at killing Terminators, why did they not weaponize it? Instead, they're giving it as a power source to people that aren't even commanders. This person, Grace, she was a grunt.
Well, because then they'd have to write a new screenplay instead of just reshooting the same movie over and over and over again.
So, Neville, do we even need to ask? View it, cue it, or screw it?
Well, I say screw it. Even if you're a Terminator fan, you've seen this film before. Many times. Some better, some worse. And there's very little new to see here.
And for me, I say view it. This movie is an absolute staple in the Terminator franchise. No, I can't even say that with a straight face. Screw it. This movie really, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, it really has nothing new to add. It's such a waste of time. What it does in the first 5 minutes just completely invalidates all the movies. So even if you are a fan of the earlier films, if you absolutely love Terminator 1 and 2, this film might just be liable to piss you off.
You know, I think the subtitle Dark Fate was very appropriate for this film because this franchise is going nowhere. It's also appropriate for Hollywood in general because this isn't the first film to discard the past and disappoint the fans. Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, folks, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to subscribe and comment and tell us what you think. We'd love to hear your opinions. And until next time, we're the Cinegeeks!
Is it just me? Or did the Terminator kind of remind you of Pee Wee Herman?